Hello and welcome to Digitized Desperadoes, episode 30. I'm
Max,
sorry.
Max, I want my $4 back.
We watched Freddy
we all
Got
spent
Fingered.
money on this, Max.
Max,
Wow.
do you owe?
I do not owe you shit.
I had to spend money on
Max.
this film of all films.
This
Max,
is an
This is-
anomaly of a film.
This is undeniably This is undeniably the worst movie I have ever seen.
It is
Yeah, I think I'd have to say
astonishing.
that too.
It is astonishing how they made this. This
is
good.
so
No.
bad. It is so bad.
This is Freddy Got Fingered.
There are so many moments in this movie that I just ask, like, how do you get to a point where you make this?
There are theories.
There are theories, yes. Should we get to them now or later?
Later.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
I know Connor's watched the video that I've watched.
I did. I
before.
watched the review because that's one of the things that brought it back into the public eye. I don't really
It's
agree
literally the
with them.
first thing you see when you look for Freddy Got Fingered
Yeah.
on YouTube,
Yeah,
where we watched it.
I don't necessarily agree with them on a lot of things, but we'll get to that. Okay, so this movie is basically a sketch gross out comedy by Tom Green, who was apparently well known enough to get Hollywood funding for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People looked at this in the production boards and they were just like, yeah, let's give him, how much money was it? It's a lot of money.
The budget was $14 million.
Christ.
And one of the jokes, I believe they say in the review, is the scene where after he gets his cartoon in the movie and he has the check and he's like, "That's all my money gone."
Yeah.
That's this. That was Tom Green while making this with his $14 million Hollywood dollars.
Yes. But we begin with the 20th Century Fox logo, which means Freddy Got Fingered is now a Disney property.
Gord is a Disney prince now.
Oh, no.
Yes.
And
oh,
the wheelchair
no.
girl is a princess.
Oh, no.
So way to go, Disney. Good acquisition.
They can now put this on Disney Plus. I hope they do a special release for it.
You'll do that right next to Song of the South.
They're gonna bury this movie.
They will release Song of the South before they release this.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I have a really good note, and I'm really proud of it. The beginning of this movie reminds me a lot of Aaron Hand.
I said this
How
looks
so?
like early YouTube comedy.
Yeah,
It's the guy's
I don't
looking at
know
his
what.
freaking cartoons and he's just going like blah, blah, blah. He's like explaining the joke and it's like not funny at all.
it's really bad,
Like the joke is already not funny and then none of it makes sense.
and then he
And
repeats it.
And then he repeats it.
over
And
over
it's like-
again.
There's like a point where I'm like, well, maybe the joke is that we're laughing at the guy because he thinks it's
No.
funny, but it's also
No.
not funny.
You want him to win. He's the hero. Okay, we might as well talk a little bit about the plot. So he's Gord. He's a cartoonist, not a successful one.
He's an aspiring one and he lives
He
with his
moves.
parents and he's like 28.
He moves to LA and he's like, I'm gonna become a cartoonist immediately, like professionally. He blackmails some people into talking to like a studio, an animation studio.
Mhm.
We have skipped
And,
a lot.
We've skipped a lot because I don't want to talk about it.
I'm summarizing. I'm doing a quick summary to get into our thoughts on things. And then when he's there, the guy's just like, it's an alright scene. I don't mind the scene where he's actually talking to the studio head. He's just like, you suck. It makes no sense. There's
Yeah.
no joke here.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah,
And
that part, I was just like, I have like the whole thing. I was like, this there needs to be something here that's actually funny. Now, what the fuck is actually happening? And I'm like, does this movie clearly has stated that it understands comedy in context of the movie.
In theory.
It understands what comedy is.
In theory, the people behind this, Tom Green, let's just say Tom Green.
Yeah.
You know, there was another director originally on this movie, but he quit. You know why?
Because it's Freddy Got Fingered.
So the rest of the movie is Gord back at home with his horrible father, played by Rip Torn, and I gotta say, my favorite character mostly.
Yeah.
He does a very good job.
Because half of his character is that he really doesn't want to be there, and I also really don't want to be there, so I can relate to that.
Yes.
And you get his brother Freddy, who isn't a character, and I don't know why they named the movie after him. He's not important at all.
Because of course they would do that.
And then you get his mom, who also isn't a character. Then he gets a girlfriend, which if Gord can find love, then I can. That gives me hope.
This movie is an inspiration.
It really is, because it shows you that this guy, he got his cartoon made. He got $10 million. He got a girlfriend.
That's not why I would call this movie an
horrible.
inspiration. I would call this movie an inspiration because no matter what I do in life, I don't think I could make something this bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And me as a writer, it's like, no matter how I look at the script, anything
At least you
I
didn't
would
write the script.
anything I could write is better than the Freddy Got Fingered script with a funding of $14
I feel like there was no
million.
fucking script at this point.
$14 million.
I feel like they just did this scene for scene, and then they were just like, where are we going next? I don't know, let's get tickets to over here now.
I think that was my overall impression of the movie. Like I said, I consider it a sketch comedy. So
there are absolutely moments where we just stop the plot to do a gag.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I really do think they wrote this. I'm not saying this to like make fun of it. I literally think they wrote this because they thought, this scene sounds good, let's do that. The Freddy Got Fingered scene where they actually have the main character accuse the father of sexual abuse, which has not aged well. Oh my god.
A child molester.
That scene,
That is how it is
first
said.
of all, has aged very poorly.
This whole thing just didn't age at all.
This is very early 2000s.
This already died.
In the opening, there is a freaking like skateboarding chase with butt rock playing, and it is just so early 2000s. It is painful.
Yeah, and that's the best scene of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's a few okay scenes.
I like we're skipping ahead again. I'll just cut out my summary. It doesn't matter. So they actually do a little cartoon in it, and it's very much like something you would see on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
That
part was
interesting.
Yeah, I'd say that was the best part.
I actually thought it was pretty good.
The animated segment.
They clearly put a fair amount of money into that. I thought the comedy was all right, honestly.
I think that's probably what Tom Green was able to actually make money off of in the day. I think that was the kind of writing he actually was doing.
Well, no. Tom Green was a horrible like prank comedian who would go out on the streets and mess with people.
Well, that explains a lot more, actually.
And I'm pretty sure it's in the review that Mitch and I watched where they explain like his history. He had a show. He had the Tom Green show.
It was an MTV show that started out as just like a on Canada only like community channel.
And some people would argue that he's the one who started trends like Eric Andre's show and a lot of the Adult Swim stuff, which I don't know if that's true. I believe it.
Even
honestly.
if it's true, Eric Andre's show did it better.
Oh yeah, no. Eric Andre is the only one where I'm like, this deserves to exist.
Yeah.
Tom Green does not. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tom Green's career, I should say, not the man himself.
Yeah, phrasing is very important here.
Actually, you know what? I just looked at my notes and remembered the entire love interest, and I want to take back what I said. Screw you, Tom Green.
Or you could just mention it.
What? The love
interest, yeah.
So she's handicapped. She is paraplegic. Well, she doesn't say it, but we assume because she's in a wheelchair for the entirety of the movie, and she constantly goes back and forth between a state of hyper intelligent and as dumb as Gord. I almost said Tom Green.
I kept calling him Tom Green in my notes, honestly.
So she seems fairly normal, except for the fact that she wants to date Gord. But then they go back to her house, and she's just a pervert. She's an info, probably. And she is aroused by having her paralyzed legs being wet.
With a cane.
Which that was like the third scene in the movie where I was just like, I'm out. I don't want to watch this anymore.
That was only the third for you?
Because the first was him jerking off the horse.
So like happen. Literally the first thing he does in the road trip for no reason, he looks over and he sees a horse and he just jerks it off and it's like,
I'm a farmer. That is the one of the first of the moments where it's like we just stopped.
That was 6 minutes into the movie too.
Yes.
That's like within 10 minutes.
And then he gets a job at a sandwich factory.
After that, for like 5 seconds, it cuts back to his parents.
I'd say,
and then we go back to Gord again.
I'd say probably the worst part about that scene, in particular the horse scene, is that right before it and after it, I believe you get Rip Torn the dad, which is a great name. I mean, I believe the actor has passed, but he has an amazing name. You get his really good acting as a good dad, and then he immediately flips the second Gord goes away, which is great. I thought it was pretty funny how he switched like that. But then it just gets ruined like immediately.
Yeah, I do like the immediately moment when after they're at the bus stop and it's like, I'm gonna make you proud, and they just keep saying proud.
Yeah. I do like the one time out of this whole movie I laughed was right after he said, I'm going to make you proud. He yells at somebody as he's trying to drive off. Get the fuck out of the way. Yeah. That is the one time I actually laughed during this movie.
Get the fuck out of the way. It's so good.
I'd say this movie's terrible. It has like a couple good scenes.
Yeah. It has some good scenes if you take them out of the movie.
Yes. Yeah, that's a perfect way of putting it. If you watched this movie as a set of 5 clips on YouTube, you might think it's good, depending on what they are.
It's the best review I've ever heard of it. You might accidentally think this movie is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Okay. I want to mention first, if you noticed, they do a little, at least the version I watched, they do a little blooper reel, like a really brief one.
Yeah, they do a blooper reel
at the end.
And many of the bloopers are with the receptionist at the animation studio, who is Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Who was married to Tom Green at the time.
Yep.
And then got divorced a year after.
Good decision.
To be fair, it wasn't a money issue.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Tom Green has money still.
Oh yeah. No, I'm certain. Because this movie did incredible on DVD sales.
Yes.
I feel like this movie is just like, between the horse thing and like just everything else, it's just like somebody made a movie because their parents told them all their life that you can't do X and Y because, and they were just like, oh, my mom hates it, therefore it's good.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like for most of the jokes in this.
That sounds like 2001 culture to me.
I mean, he is known for his quote-unquote shock comedy, but it's just like, it's not shocking. It's just kind of like,
disturbing.
Yeah, that's like the whole 90s, early 2000s gross out humor. Like,
my problem with it is it's like, I've gotten to a point where it's like, I'm not offended that it's gross. I just don't think it's funny, and I don't want to have to look at it.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it too. I think there's some obvious examples of things that do gross out humor well. I know this is gonna sound funny, but we've discussed this before. Shrek.
Shrek does it really well, yeah.
Came out in the same year.
Yeah.
And it does it really well. This is funny. I noticed this in when I was recording all the movies I've watched recently. Also in 2001 was Spirited Away, I believe.
Wow.
And that uses some gross out technical.
Yeah.
Actually a fair amount of it. Which is weird to think about. For some reason 2001 was gross.
Yeah, it's the early 2000s. We had grossology.
All right, what else?
Baby.
This movie
I don't
is
know where
such
we're at.
nonsense through and through. There's the scene where Gord busts in and he's wearing a British policeman outfit that he somehow gets.
That was lame.
And then he just pulls out a gun.
Yeah, he always
and
shoots
threatens
himself
to
in
kill
broad
himself.
daylight, and it's like,
I think I almost found that funny. There was something kind of humorous about.
There is something about
Especially
how
when,
like immediate
the
it is, I
executive
guess.
guy comments on why the hell are you wearing a British police outfit.
And then that's of course where he's told to get inside the animal's head. He's talking with the producer, and so he's talking with the producer, and the producer's like, your show doesn't make any sense. You got to learn more. You got to get inside the animals' heads. And so he literally goes find some roadkill moose and he cuts it open and he wears it, and then he gets hit by a truck, and it's not funny, and it's gross, and it's not funny also, and it's not funny.
He is somehow completely unharmed by being hit by a semi-truck.
Yeah, that was horrible. That was really bad. There's nothing redeemable about that. No.
And then, of course, on his way back, he right after that, he decides to go back home because he quits his job at the sandwich factory, and he of course watches some horse sex while eating a sandwich because why not? Even though they already kind of like
the sandwich, it's weird because it's a normal sandwich, and then it cuts back a few times, and it's suddenly there's way more sandwich. And
this is just how not funny this movie is. That shock of the horse sex while eating the sandwich is lessened because he already jacked off a horse earlier in the movie. So it's like, it's doubly not shocking or funny.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have been funny anyways, but it's also even less funny.
And then we get the first instance of Andy getting injured where he trips and falls into the car. And busts his face open.
The funny thing is, when I first saw that, the first time you have the gag with the little kid getting injured, I thought the first scene was him seeing Gord and thinking, oh my god, Gord's back, I hate my life, and then smacking his own face on the car. Which I thought was funny, but it turns out I was wrong.
Your mind was funnier than the movie.
Yes, I invented
You invented a better gag.
But that gag has a good moment later on, though.
Yes. Then he's skateboarding with his friend, who we only just then meet.
Can we skip that scene?
Yeah, where he breaks his leg open and then he starts licking it for no reason, and everybody's just yelling for the whole scene.
Wasn't one of the bloopers or cut scenes like him doing something else with the bone?
I think so.
I don't know.
I think he bit it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that scene was horrible.
But then we go to the hospital.
That's where he meets the wheelchair girl.
The dad says some slurs. I wrote that down.
He says...
He drops some R's.
R's and F's.
Another way this movie has aged negatively.
Very poorly.
And in the hospital scene...
he skateboards into the hospital room. But then, I immediately recognized, oh no, this is the scene where he swings the baby by the cord. And he gnaws on the cord.
The only redeeming quality about this scene is that they don't actually kill the baby, which would just be kind of unforgivable in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
But no, the way they do it's so horrible and awful, and then it's hard cut to heartwarming moment,
and then right back to he gets kicked out of the hospital.
I would say the one good line in the entire movie is when his friend says, "Put him back, Gord." That made me laugh.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
There's a few decent lines, but only out of context.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, at this point, after the hospital scene, I wrote a note. This is just a series of horrific and disgusting sketches, and I hate it. There is absolutely nothing of value, and if it's funny, it's unintentional or because of the individual talent of the actors.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I feel about the movie.
I have a comment here. I believe this is after he gets carried away, hitting the... so after the scene, he goes with the rocket chair girl, because they met in the hospital. He goes over to her house, and she wants him to hit him with... She wants him to hit her with the bamboo in her legs that don't work. And then I just wrote, why anything?
Yeah.
Weird, kinky shit.
And then, of course, she goes in on him, and he's wearing the umbilical cord of the baby
onto his stomach
for fun.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's such a throwaway joke, and they don't even do anything with it.
It's just like, hey, remember that scene from earlier?
They did like a gross out joke there, and they like didn't go as far as that you could have even gone with it.
And also, the girl's like trying to sexually assault him.
Yes.
Yes.
That is like the one morally good decision this character makes. Is he's like, please don't.
It's the couple times where he refuses sex. Yeah.
And then the next scene, he's like taking a shower in scuba gear for no reason.
That was a good scene. Just
that scene is actually kind of funny.
The slapstick, though.
Of him getting pulled through the glass door.
I was already too depressed by this movie's existence to laugh at it.
See, okay, the way I experienced this movie, and you're gonna be like, no way. I enjoyed watching this movie. It's very much like I get some sick pleasure out of watching it.
There is some bit of me that was like that, but it was scene to scene, and this scene was not one of them.
Okay, basically, yeah, no, it's more scene to scene. There were scenes, the gross out scenes, I went dead. I like died inside just for those scenes. I was just like, I want to see less of this. I hate this. I can't wait to bash it on the podcast. But when there were scenes that were slapstick, scenes that were
like the physical comedy.
Yeah, and a lot of the scenes with the dad, I was like, all right. I don't like. I hate the slurs. But come on, he gives a good performance.
I mean, technically speaking, he is also kind of a bad guy. But
no, you're supposed to hate him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's. Yeah. I wouldn't accept that in a newer movie. Unless they were supposed to paint him as a racist, unsympathetic, whatever. But during those scenes, I was more attentive. I was willing to laugh begrudgingly. I wouldn't call it ironic because I don't know. I don't like it in spite of it. I know what it is. It's bad, but there's something entertaining about it. What I'm trying to say is I enjoyed the experience of watching it. I never want to do it again. I want to remove this movie
I
from
feel
the face
like
of the earth.
It's definitely a movie you gotta see.
Yeah.
Once.
I guess, one time.
That's what they say. Again. That's what they said in the review. They said, watch it. Decide for yourself, you know?
Yeah. All right, then we have, like, what?
Backwards
Man?
Fight.
Oh, yeah, restaurant, yeah.
Don't even bring up Backwards Man. That's not a thing.
I just had one comment that just says Backwards Man. I have nothing else on it. Just it exists.
The restaurant scene, I don't like the restaurant scene except for the ending, which is
this is a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
No, the cop comes in and shoots the gun.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It was good. Again, they said in the review that's just a Monty Python ending. It's a cop out.
Yeah, basically the whole the whole what is it? Restaurant scene is them at a fancy restaurant.
The whole fighting in a fancy restaurant gag.
Yeah.
They do the sitcom gag where Gord is pretending that he has a job when he does not, and it's obvious that he does not.
His dad also finds out because they both happen to eating at the same restaurant.
Yeah. And then also Andy and his dad are there, and Andy takes a wine bottle to the face.
Yes.
Right after that, what's the girl's name? Betty?
I don't know.
Betty.
Yeah,
sure.
The girl's name is Betty, and she's like, maybe you're just taking your animation thing like too hard on yourself. Maybe you should just eat some food and play some music.
Oh no!
And
then
you
we get Daddy, would you like some sausage?
You get Daddy, would you like some sausage? Which is, again, I would say, really good if you had none of the context of the rest of this movie.
Yes, if
it's like a regular YouTube
clip,
bit, yeah,
which
it's
most
a YouTube
everyone
bit.
has.
See, that was one of the scenes where I kind of understood where they were coming from when they were writing that, because I've talked to artist types, like I'm a writer. I've talked to other writers. It's a very common theme among artists to have really specific working conditions.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, just like he was like just trying to come up with some weird bullshit to make art, and he actually kind of was making art there. That's where we learn Freddy comes in and he looks at his or not as Freddy, but it was Freddy. Yeah, he comes in and he's like, hey, this is actually kind of good. I mean, I don't think you think it's good, but like our dad's kind of like a character now, because he was drawing his dad as like a character.
Yeah,
I thought it was his friend that came in, but
yeah, it's his
no, because his friend had a cast on at the time. I think he was still in the hospital.
Yeah, he came in. I'm pretty
sure
it's
him.
It's
the friend character, who's the only guy who likes his stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that's one of the only scenes where I'm like, yeah, that's good.
I think it's good out of context. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not awful.
Yeah.
I think that's the one part where like the absurdist humor does check out. Like, you get that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, is this the animated segment?
No, I'm just talking about the Daddy, would you like some sausage still?
Yeah.
So that's 1 point for Tom Green out of many, many points you have lost.
You have negative 999 now.
Yeah. Wow, I do not have many notes. They do the therapy, the family counseling.
Yeah, the dad destroys the ramp. They had like a skateboard ramp out front. The dad destroys it after the sausage thing because he didn't like it.
They go to family therapy, and then
you get the title of the movie.
Frames his dad as a child molester, and that's where we get the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Freddy is taken to a institute for molested children.
And for some reason, they watch horror movies.
The title.
Yeah, they're watching like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I believe the title of the place he goes is Institute for Sexually Molested Children.
I don't think that's a real place.
I think that's real.
Yeah, not good. My next note.
My next note after that is Andy getting a baseball to the face and all of his teeth falling out.
Yeah, that one wasn't even the main character's fault. That was actually just his dad.
Yeah. Then we get he gets the money for the show, and then he spends a ton of the money on.
You skipped.
Well, we skipped a little bit.
A lot. You skipped a lot.
But he thinks he gives up on his dreams at one point, and then he sees Betty do the rocket chair thing, and she actually builds a successful rocket chair, and then he gets the enthusiasm or whatever he wanted.
Wait. First of all, before we go past that, did you notice when Betty was on TV talking about her rocket chair?
Oh yeah, right before they cut it.
She starts talking about her fetishes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the second time I laughed in this whole movie.
Yeah, and then we still skipped more. The dad actually sexually assaults Gord.
Yeah, Gord is like, fuck you, and he's like, oh, fuck me. And so, yeah.
And the mom sees that and she leaves.
Yeah. We'll see her again later.
Yes.
So anyway, Gord gives another pitch to the studio, and the studio head is just like, "This is great. This is your best."
Well, it's because the dad freaking barges in,
runs in,
and he thinks the studio head. Okay. Oh, sorry. The studio head basically thinks that he's doing a bit to show off his idea, but no, his dad is actually barged in, but he doesn't care.
Then we get the cartoon, which, like we've said, It's all right.
It's decent.
There's not much more to say. It would fit right in Adult Swim in 2001.
Yeah. And then we get the scene where he is given $1 million, which I feel is very much like parodying the studio giving him $14 million to make this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The rest of this movie, there's a lot of scenes in the rest of this movie that I would say you're like too self-aware.
Yeah, the self-awareness definitely cranks up at that point.
The end of the movie is insanely self-aware.
Yeah.
But I'd say this part that we're
is
about
where
to
it
talk
like
about
turns
right now,
up.
where Gord moves the house, is not self-aware, and it's just bad.
Yeah, no. Basically, earlier in the movie, so at this point, he's got money. He's doing fuck you things with it. He goes and gets his girl back.
Jewels.
He gets her jewels.
In a helicopter.
Yeah, in a helicopter.
Jewels.
I've quoted it a couple times recently, but I do like the Jules line, not the scene, just the delivery.
What was the line again?
Jules, I got you, Jules.
They're jewels, Betty. They're jewels.
That's it.
Yeah.
He just keeps repeating it.
Yeah, so he breaks into his own house and tranks his dad and then moves to Pakistan.
That was kind of good, too.
Because his dad kept saying, like,
I actually did like that.
If we lived in Pakistan, you'd be sewing soccer balls or something at 4.
He says that once.
He says, yeah, like once.
Way earlier in the movie.
Yeah. So they move a section of the house to Pakistan, which I feel like would take more than $1 million to do.
Yes.
Don't question it. It's a movie.
Maybe not in 2001.
And then the rest of my notes literally just say why.
They get into like a weird slapstick Looney Tunes fight, and then they end it in the least Looney Tunes way possible.
Where he jacks off an elephant.
Dick. Yeah.
Let's skip that. They have an emotional talk. It's
over elephant smooge,
and they
get captured by the people in the Pakistani town they were in.
And they get kidnapped, and this is where it gets really too, like, fucking...
Or no, they're held hostage for 18 months.
Well, can we talk about Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah, Shaq's in this movie.
Shaq's in this movie.
And he's watching the news, and...
With Gord's mom, because they're together now.
Oh, that was who that... Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's what it is.
No, oh my god, I just remembered a bad scene.
What?
Do you remember the scene? I believe it's right after Gord accuses his dad. He's talking to his mom, and she's just like, he's not that bad. Let's just live with him. And Gord's just like, no, you gotta get out there and live your life, and gets like really unnecessarily sexual.
Yeah. Like, he's like, so fuck strange men.
I believe he specifically says basketball player.
I think he says basketball player than Greek men, so yeah, I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, his mom's fucking Shaquille O'Neal. Why is Shaq in this movie?
Why is Shaq in this movie?
I don't have any attachment. I don't have any attachment to Shaquille O'Neal, but I was upset when I saw him.
Yeah. But he does say when they on the news, he's like, "Why are we still watching this?" And then when they land the plane, they eventually Tom Green and his dad get rescued from Pakistan, and when they land the plane, there's somebody holding like signs like this that like welcome back and stuff.
When the fuck is this movie gonna end?
One just says, "When the fuck is this movie gonna end?" And I'm like, that's my thoughts exactly. And it's like,
Yep.
Now we got to get to the question:
like
was this intentionally the worst movie ever made?
I say no.
I say yeah.
I say no.
I don't know.
Well, no. There's also Connor, you're forgetting the best gag of Andy where he runs into the propeller and the crowd is splattered with blood, but he says he's okay because you can't kill a child in this movie.
Was good.
I don't know if this movie was intentionally bad.
I don't think this movie was intentionally bad.
I think it was.
I think it's
too self-aware at the end.
It's way too easy to look at this in context of what it was made along. You think that just because it was made in a time of gross out, kind of at the end.
That's not even my reasoning.
No. Let me give my spiel.
Yeah.
You think that just because it's a little bit more extreme than your Ren and Stimpy or your what's another gross out?
I don't know.
Garbage Pail Kids. No, that's too kiddie. See, we don't even remember what they were, but they were so bad.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's a little more extreme than something like Ren and Stimpy, which I guess would be my example, doesn't mean it's parody, you know? I honestly think that Tom Green thinks a lot of this is funny.
I think this is my theory on the movie. I think it started out normal. Like, it was like, okay, Tom Green gets a movie.
Well, it had 2 directors. It wasn't just Tom Green.
And Tom Green kept doing these scenes that he thought were hilarious. Other people were like, no. And he's like, fuck you, I got money. And so he did them. But later on, I feel like it just got bitter. Like, he hated the project or some shit internally. I think there's just a certain point where it's just like,
I don't want to really be doing this anymore.
I just feel like he sabotages this like later on.
And make it bad on purpose.
Also, a lot of stuff was cut. I believe the reason why it's called Freddy Got Fingered and we see almost nothing of Freddy was editing, because in they mentioned this in the review, in the bonus features or something, you see extra scenes of them in the institute with Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
Like long scenes.
Like that was supposed to be a whole subplot.
So okay. I think it's I would agree with that it started out completely serious, because the early scenes are consistent. They're in line with what Tom Green did before this. They are not as surreal. They're more set in reality. It gets more surreal as you go on.
As time goes on, we just get wackier and wackier until we
Personally, I would argue everything before the pitch, the second pitch that actually works, is dead serious. He thought it was all funny. He did it intentionally. And everything after that is more likely to be that bitter, self-reflecting, like...
I would say most of it's like that.
I made, you know...
And then I feel like they edited in some other scenes, because I really just don't feel like the horse stick scene, which is a sentence I can say for some reason, I just feel like that wasn't... Like, not only does that feel terrible, it also just feels like it just wasn't meant to even be there.
Absolutely, like, no, because the way it is like cut in and interspersed between, like, plot like scenes, like, where it's just Gord going on his way, and then that happens, and then it goes back to the parents for a second.
It could be they came up with the elephant joke at the end, because that's when it was already gone bitter in this theoretical scenario. Maybe they came up with the elephant one, and they're like, no, this doesn't work thematically enough, so let's go film a fucking horse one, and then we'll put it in earlier, I guess. That's my only way I can fathom the thought process
because
going.
That's an established thing that Gord can do, is that he can jerk off animals.
I don't like the fact that you said that.
I feel bad now.
But I get it. I get what you're saying. It's an ability.
I feel dirty every time I say the name of this movie.
Yeah.
I think we should take a look at we don't have to right now, but when you look at this movie, you should take a look at Tom Green's career, like the Tom Green Show, MTV in general in the 90s, that very like counterculture, like rebellion kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in many ways Tom Green took it way too far. You can see that as parody. I don't.
I definitely knew some
people. I
people...
feel it is, because it has that whole I'm gonna get my parents' respect and follow my dreams storyline that's super common of the time.
I feel like that was like parody of the common theme, but like not the whole thing is. I definitely knew some people back in high school that like would have had similar senses of comedy to get to this point. Or at least that they're doing something that maybe they don't think is funny, but because it causes an outrage and gets people to talk about it, they see that attention as success.
No. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had a friend in high school who would specifically sit down on his computer and spend hours on Facebook making political posts to get people upset.
Well, it's not just that. Like I knew somebody that would... What?
No, it's anything. People will do anything.
Well, yeah, like anything. But like I'm talking about like there's like I knew a guy that would like slam his head into a locker because it was funny to him.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like he's like, ha ha ha, this is funny. And it's like, I don't think he actually thinks it's funny. I think he thinks that he's funny for doing it.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. You know what? That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Tom Green might not have thought a lot of these scenes were funny, but he thought that the fact that he was putting these into a film was funny.
It's just the comedy is I am making a bad movie on purpose.
Maybe.
Eh.
I don't know if he's playing 4D chess, but he did claim that he was doing that when he showed up to his own Razzie for this movie.
I really don't want to give him that much credit. I really don't.
Yeah. I would say that at a certain point he said fuck it and wanted to make a bad movie, but I definitely wasn't that from the start.
I think the ending shows that at some point there was self-awareness, but I do not think it was at the beginning or even halfway.
I think there's probably like a process where you can look at it and see that, and then they probably went back and added in scenes later on to make it a little bit harder to tell the turning point into when they said fuck this movie. If that makes any sense.
There was a really good I love the Roger Ebert review of this. He hates it.
Of course.
But there was a really good quote.
It was
okay. I found it. No, different quote. The day may come when Freddy Got Fingered is seen as a milestone of neo-surrealism. The day may never come when it is seen as funny.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I don't care how much you think it might be meta art.
I don't think it's meta.
Oh no,
it's not funny.
It's not funny, regardless. I just think it's bad on purpose.
Well, that's what meta means.
Yeah, but so that doesn't make it funny.
I think even if
because you're doing a parody or satire or something doesn't mean you have.
I would say if it's at any stakes or at any way meta bad, it's still not meta bad in like a good way. It's meta bad in like a bitter just
yeah, it contributes nothing to the human experience.
It's like you want to see a bad movie, I'll give you a fucking bad movie, and then they did. It's like
you know what? Maybe that's why it's so entertaining. Because it actually is a bad movie.
Yeah.
There's so much mediocre crap out there that's just like boring.
Yeah.
This is bad.
This is an explicitly bad movie.
It's new in how bad it is.
It's like you can have it's not even just the thing. It's like it's a different kind of bad, because you can have a bad movie that's like badly cut, you can have it badly paced. This is it could be badly acted, like something like The Room, where it's entertaining for that.
Mm-hmm.
This is acted well. This is like a train wreck of writing.
Oh yeah,
nobody breaks really.
Don't ever let it be said that some of the actors in this movie are bad, because they're not.
Yeah.
They give their all. That's pretty much all I have to say.
I think we've exhausted our topics.
I don't want to talk about this movie more.
Me neither. I think we went longer than I wanted to go.
There are things we just had to say, no matter what. Unfortunately.
I'd be fine if this movie died out in general. It's not going to. People love attaching to the cult, to the underrated, to the hated. People like to disagree with critics, which I don't. I hate that attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Freddy Got Fingered is a great example of something just bad. Just bad. I think everyone can agree that it's bad, even if you think it was intentionally
purposefully bad or accidentally bad. Bad
either way.
I rate this 2 out of 10. It's not the worst thing I ever made, but it's pretty darn close.
I also give it a 2 out of 10, only because if it's purposefully bad, 1 out of 10 is the lowest I could give it, and I don't want to give them the satisfaction of making something that is the worst. So it is the second worst by my number system.
Yeah, also 2 out of 10 for me, just because there's like a few little things in here that are like, hey, that's actually kind of funny, and also maybe this is done on purpose. But otherwise, no, it's not good at all.
Honestly, my extra 1 point is just for the animated part because I think it's really neat, and I wouldn't mind watching more of it. Just that.
You want Zebras in America, the show.
I liked it.
Did you like it, or did you just think it was good in stark contrast to what you were also watching?
Yeah, you might be right on that one. Okay, let's go to the showdown. I'm done with this movie.
Yes.
This movie is having us have an existential nightmare.
Yes. Alright, it is my turn.
Save us.
Yes, I hope I will.
Anything will be better.
Alrighty. From the master of Muppets himself, Jim Henson, it's The Dark Crystal.
I own the book of this.
Nice.
I haven't seen this, but a lot of people love it because it's childhood things meaning to them, and it's a cult classic effectively.
This would be weird.
I haven't seen it. It's got that Netflix prequel coming up soon. I saw the trailer for that, and it looked neat. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch the original first.
It got a mobile game at E3. Yes. Do you remember that?
I remember that. That was weird. Yeah, it was at Nintendo's press conference. It was weird.
There was a lot of things there.
Okay.
Anyways,
see ya.
That's what we're doing. Dark Crystal.